Hello and welcome to the Redundancy Support webinar. Facing redundancy or being at risk of being made redundant can be unnerving. So the aim of this webinar is to provide you with the skills and tools that will help you move forward positively, whether that be a change in career, finding alternative employment within the same industry, or just feeling better able to cope with the situation. My name is Steve Watering. I'll be guiding you through the following slides. The webinar content is as follows. Introduction to the tools that are available on the National Careers Service website, how to go about choosing a career in these challenging times, introduction to online training opportunities, CV writing, interview skills, identify ways to build your resilience. You will notice that beside each of the topics are the related slide numbers. This will enable you to quickly navigate your way through the webinar as required. We will start the webinar by looking at the National Careers Service website. This includes a Contact Us section, which not only highlights the 0800 100 900 number, but also provides hot links to our email and web chat services. The Help to Get a Job section covers a range of topics such as filling out application forms, furlough and more. Whilst the Find a Course section provides an opportunity for you to explore courses local to you, using the research engine provided. Aside from this, under the Skills Toolkit section, there are also free online digital literacy and numeracy courses. These range from introductory to advanced level. The Skills Assessment section provides you with an opportunity to identify potentially suitable career options by completing one or both of the quizzes, which subsequently points you in the direction of the Explore Careers section. Here you will find over 800 different career options hidden behind 25 different career areas, as the following slide demonstrates. So here is the Explore Careers page. Now, if you're thinking you might like to work with animals, but you're unsure what options might be open to you, all you would need to do is click on Animal Care, and there you'll be introduced to an A to Z list of animal-related career options. You will then be able to find more detail by clicking on the individual career profiles. The following slide provides an example. The example profile here is Sales Assistant, but you will notice that the same job can be described in different ways, such as Store Assistant. This is worth noting when you're searching for jobs online. Basically, it would be advisable to search for the same job using the various titles. You will also note that there are buttons below that take you to the more detailed information. I'm going to introduce you to one of these, the What It Takes button, which covers the skills and knowledge required. I particularly like the What It Takes section, as it gives you the chance to consider whether you have the relevant transferable skills, but it also provides a useful point of reference when editing the skills part of your CV. So that's a quick overview of the National Careers Service website. But now we're going to look at the process of choosing a new career path. Here we have a theory of career choice management. You will notice there are two key elements to this theory, self-awareness and opportunity awareness. Underneath are four key steps. The first is to identify what you want from work, then use this information to identify career options that best match. Once you have identified some suitable options, you will then need to note the entry requirements. Then finally, take stock and identify whether or not you have the required skills, experience or qualifications. A lot of people get stuck at the first stage and they tend to think about what they can do rather than what they want to do. To illustrate, I used to work as a careers advisor in schools, and there was a teacher that decided to utilise a computer-based career matching program because, in his words, he was fed up with teaching. Interestingly, one of the first questions was, would you like to work with children? He then said, I suppose I better put a like response, as I can work with children. I pointed out that he should answer the questions from an I want to perspective, but he carried on regardless, and unsurprisingly, teacher came up on the list of career suggestions. Now the next few slides will focus on how we can develop our self-awareness. Carol Eichelberry has some very useful resources in her Creative Careers book, which include a couple of worksheets. Below is an example question taken from one of these worksheets. I've used these to good effect in group sessions before, and the question, what are you doing when you're so engrossed, absorbed or involved that you lose track of time, has elicited some very interesting responses. For example, one lady in a group said, "I like shopping, but what use is that for my future career?" Others in the group suggested personal shopper, mystery shopper, which were the obvious links. But I asked her why she likes shopping. Her response, "I love finding a bargain." So I then asked her how she goes about finding these bargains, to which she replied, "I go in the high street stores, check out charity shops, go online to sites like eBay and more." I then said, "So, research, and a bit more research." And she was like, "Wow, yeah, I love research." So I encouraged her to note it down. The key here is not only to note down what you like doing, but the reason why. Another self-awareness resource is the Johari window. It has 4 elements: arena, blind spot, facade, and unknown. The unknown is not known to yourself or to others and only comes out in extreme circumstances. For example, say your house was on fire and you quickly rescued your pet, you would suddenly feel very brave and your friends would agree. The facade. This is known by you but not by others. For example, you might project the facade that you're very confident, but deep down you don't feel that way. The arena. This is known by you and by others. For example, I know I'm a chatterbox, as do my friends. The blind spot. These are qualities that others have seen in you, but that you have not yet registered or acknowledged. A quick way of identifying these qualities is by texting your family and friends and asking them to describe you in one word. You will get a range of responses back. Some you'll recognise because they belong to the arena, but others will potentially surprise you because they belong to the blind spot. You can then add these qualities to your list. Now, once you have a list of qualities, skills and attributes that you would like to see in your future career, be aware you're not likely to find all of them in one job. It would thus make sense to rank them in order of preference. You'll notice that as you get closer to rank number 1, it'll be more difficult to choose between the options. These ones will be your core. Now we move on to the resources that can help quickly identify potentially suitable career options based on your preferences. The National Careers Service, Prospects and Careers Wales websites offer free career matching tools. Adult Directions does incur a fee, but does have the Suitable for You section. This is useful because on one side it will list all the questions that link in with the job that is being recommended to you, and down on the right hand side will be all your responses, so you can clearly see why it has picked out that particular career option. The Moresby assessment is another tool that has a fee attached, but this one assesses not only your interests but also your abilities, and it assesses your abilities through a variety of psychometric assessments. It then uses this information to come up with suitable career suggestions. Once you've identified a suitable career path, you may need to develop some experience that's relevant to the actual role. To do that, you might want to visit the doit.org website. This is the Go Compare of the volunteer world, so it's a one-stop shop for volunteering opportunities. Finally, your choice of career might lend itself towards self-employment, and if this is an option you're considering, the Starting Your Own Gardening Business book by Paul Power is a particularly useful resource. Although it focuses on gardening, there is a lot of transferable, useful information that can be used for any industry. However, when researching into your career options, you may find that further qualifications are required, and the following 2 slides will provide an introduction to local and online provision. Here we have a list of providers that are offering free training courses, subject to eligibility, and the following slide highlights just some of these courses. In total, there's over 200 online courses to explore. There's the ever popular maths and English, but aside from that, you've got things like management, health and nutrition, payroll, mental health, customer service, and more. For a full list, please refer to the course directory. This is available by contacting the National Career Service on the 0800 100 900 number. Now we come to the CV writing and interview skills part of the webinar. But before we do, it's worth noting the three-step process to obtaining employment. The first step is obviously applying, either via CV, application form, or speculatively. The second, which people don't often realise, is that employers will check you out on social media. So what does your Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter account say about you? The third is the interview stage. This can be face-to-face, group activities, Skype, or telephone interviews. All of this will be covered later. So we'll start with the CV, and there is a flow to a CV. First of all, the employer wants to know who you are and how to contact you. This will be your personal details, so name, mobile, email. Then comes the profile. I've highlighted this in bold because we will be discussing this next. But just as a heads up, the profile is a bit like the blurb that you get on the back of a book or a DVD. It's a quick introduction to what's coming. Get it wrong, the employer will stop reading, get it right, and they'll carry on. Then comes the skills and qualities. The employer will want to know that you have the necessary skills and qualities that they are looking for. But it's not just this. They also want evidence that you have these skills and qualities, and this comes through the employment history, education and training, and interests. Again, you will notice that the employment history is highlighted in bold. Again, I will be covering this in more detail shortly. Finally, come the references. Most people will put references available on request. Over the years, I've seen many a profile that reads something along the lines of, "I'm an honest, reliable, hard-working individual, great team player," and words to this effect. Unfortunately, this is too generic, which is why I've devised this 5-point plan to help you write an effective profile. It's always good to start with the experience. Now, you could look at this as a job or transferable skill. For example, the job might be retail assistant, but the transferable skill could be customer service. You'd also want to let them know how much experience you've had in terms of years or months and the type of experience. So, for example, somebody could put retail assistant with 7 years of experience within food and fashion environments, or if they were going for a different role, they could put customer service professional, which is a transferable skill, with 7 years of experience in retail. Same information but slightly different spin. Now, the core qualification doesn't have to be a literal qualification, but it is what qualifies you for the job. For example, a delivery driver needs a driving license. So in this part, they might put holding a full clean driving license. The top 2 skills or qualities is quite self-explanatory, but go with the core ones that you know the employer is going to be looking for. The unique selling point could be something like being first aid trained and certified, having supervisory experience, being able to speak different languages. If you can't think of a unique selling point, then go for an achievement. We'll look at achievements in the employment history section. Finally, you will want to give a reason for applying. This could be that you've been a full-time parent and now you're looking for part-time work, that you've recently finished school and you're actively seeking an apprenticeship, or if you've been made redundant, you might want to go with something like actively seeking a new challenge within and choose the career option that you want to go for, such as customer service, retail, etc. Now, the following slide provides an example of how this works. So here we have the example, and on the left-hand side are the 5 headings, and to the right are some notes. What you would want to do is lose the headings once you've made the notes and then expand on them as per the example below, which reads, retail worker with over 7 years of experience within food and fashion environments, holding the NVQ Level 2 qualification in customer service, with excellent communication skills, an effective team worker, very reliable, and holding a first aid certificate. Actively seeking an opportunity within retail where I can further develop and progress. This is short and to the point, and exactly what the employer is looking for. Another section of the CV that often requires enhancing is the work history. This example is based on a lady I met who only had the job, employer and dates listed. I asked her why and she said, well, everybody knows what a cleaner does, so what's the point? It's always good to let the employer know what you can do, so this is where the responsibilities come into play. And I had this conversation with the lady and she started to expound on what she did. As she did so, I made a note of her responsibilities, which included emptying the bins, cleaning toilets, dusting, hoovering and all the rest. At the same time, I also noted down her achievements, such as being given keyholder responsibilities, being promoted to supervisor, completing cosh and buffing machine training and more. When I showed her this, she said, wow, this is the first time I felt proud to be a cleaner. That is the value of the achievements. It can boost your confidence. Another key factor with the achievements though is it can add weight to your skills. For example, what does being a key holder say about you? That you're honest, trustworthy, reliable, punctual, things like these, because you're not going to give the keys to somebody who's not got those skills. Now, the next slide is particularly useful for those that have worked in the same role but for different companies. Here we have what I call an example of chunking. I call it that because I've chunked all the information together. So, because I've chunked all the work together, I only have to write the responsibilities out once. But please remember to be more specific with your achievements. So don't put promoted to deputy manager, otherwise the employer will assume you were promoted at all 4 places. In this instance, we've put promoted to deputy manager at HMV. There was some research carried out to identify the CV writing mistakes that frustrate employers. Here are the top 5. At number 5, too long or too short. Basically, your CV should be 1 or 2 pages long. Anything longer and the employer is likely to switch off. Number 4, visually unappealing and difficult to read. Please choose one font, such as Times New Roman, Arial or Calibri, and a readable font size. Number 3, not tailoring your CV to match the job. Basically, this links in with the profile, which needs to be targeted, not generic. So please do make use of the 5-point plan to devise an effective profile. Number 2, listing duties instead of individual achievements. This links in with the employment history section, so please make sure you do yourself a justice and include some achievements. Finally, at number 1, typing errors, poor spelling and grammar. There is often a spell check function on computers, but this doesn't always pick up every single mistake. So getting a fresh pair of eyes to check over your CV is always a good idea. Now we move into the section about interview skills and techniques. The first thing to bear in mind is that questions about your interests are aimed at gauging what you look and sound like when you're talking about something enthusiastically. Your interview performance is then measured against this benchmark. Basically, you need to show the same energy and drive with your interview questions as you would when talking about something you're interested in. This will help to convince the employer that you mean business and really want the job. Now here are some popular interview questions, not an exhaustive list, but it's worth thinking about why an employer might be asking the question so you can better prepare quality responses. For example, what is your main weakness or area for development? Why might an employer ask this question? Basically, they want to see, are you self-aware? Unfortunately, some people will say, I don't have any weaknesses, which is really not realistic. Secondly, they want to know what you do about your weaknesses. Do you bury your head in the sand, or do you do something proactive? If you would like to explore this topic further, Please remember you can call an advisor on the National Career Service number 0800 100 900. In the next slide, we'll look at ways you could answer the question, do you have any questions? Prior to a job interview, it would make sense to write a list of questions that you would like to ask the employer. Below are a list of questions that you could ask. Where do you see the company in 5 years' time? What do you particularly enjoy about working here and what is your biggest challenge? Can I have a tour of the premises? What sort of training or development opportunities do you provide for new staff? How do you as a company demonstrate to staff that they are valued members of the team? So now we'll take a quick look at competency-based questions. From the employer's point of view, they'll have seen in your CV that you say worked with customers as part of a team and more. But what they won't know is how well you worked with customers or how well you worked as part of a team. And at this juncture, they'll want examples. You'll want more than one example to be convincing, so I'd suggest that you have 4 or 5 examples for each. Once you've got your examples, you may then want to apply the CAR method, and this will be discussed in the next slide. When explaining an example, it's good to use the CAR method. The C is context, A action, and R result. You will note that 50% of the time should be spent on the action. This is because the employer wants to know what you did. Hence, when it comes to teamwork, don't fall into the trap of talking about what we did. You need to specify what you did. However, there are likely to be challenges along the way. So, how resilient are you? The following slides look at some strategies to help build resilience. The first one is the ABCDE strategy. The A stands for adversity. For example, you sent out 500 CVs but only got 2 replies. B stands for the beliefs you have when the adversity occurs. Oh, no one's interested in taking me on, let alone interviewing me. C stands for the consequences of holding these beliefs. Oh, what's the point in sending out any more CVs? D stands for dispute your beliefs using facts and logic. With my wealth of experience, surely an employer would be interested. Perhaps there's something wrong with my CV. E stands for energy you get from successfully disputing your beliefs. Right, I'm going to get a professional to check my CV. Another resilience resource is the 2 Mindsets by Carol Dweck. On the left is the fixed mindset, on the right is the growth mindset. Now, when I showed this to my wife, she said, I see myself in the fixed mindset with the challenges and obstacles, but in the growth mindset for the effort, criticism and success of others. Basically, we're not going to be totally fixed mindset or totally growth mindset, and sometimes these will fluctuate. But if you find yourself feeling negative, then you might want to have a little look at this chart and see potentially why and do something positive about it. Finally, we have Shawn Achor, who's an author and speaker that is known for his advocacy of positive psychology. He came up with a 21-day program for creating lasting positive change. This includes 3 gratitudes, journaling, exercise, meditation, random acts of kindness. Now the following slide expands on how these activities can help us move forward positively. Gratitude. Identify 3 new things that you're grateful for, as this sets a new pattern where you can scan the horizons for positives rather than negatives. Journalizing. This is the chance to dwell on one positive experience in the last 24 hours. This allows you to relive and reaffirm the positive. Exercise. This produces a positive chemical release and results in a feeling of happiness and also turns on the learning centers in your brain. Meditation. This helps you to focus and thus make you better able to cope with the many demands in your life. Random acts of kindness. If you give one positive bit of praise to someone in your social network, it helps to create an environment of positivity generally. So we come to the conclusion of the webinar. And first of all, we'd like to thank you for watching, but please be aware that the information that we've provided is a quick overview. So if you'd like more detailed information, please be aware that there are further webinars available, as listed below. So if you wanted to know more about resilience, interview skills, CV writing, or any of the other topics, please tune in. Finally, if you want further support, you can speak to an advisor today by calling 0800 100 900 or going on the National Careers Service website to access the email or web chat facilities.